how do you know if someone is really channeling a message from an outside source or if it's just coming from their own higher self? Because I've watched this for years, and when I was 20 years old and I met this beautiful woman who was doing readings, and I just came into her life and she ended up guiding me through my own journey. When I first met her, she used to do readings for people in her home, and she used to ask for a piece of jewelry, right? So someone would come in, and if they had been wearing a ring or a bracelet or something, she would say, "Can I just hold your jewelry?" And when she did the reading, she'd close her eyes and feel the energy from the jewelry and then do the reading. So a couple of years later, after I'd known her for a long time, I said to her one day, "Could you do a reading for me?" And I went to take my ring off my finger, and she said, "Oh, I don't need that." And I said, "But don't you do all your readings holding a piece of jewelry?" And she said, "I do that because it's more convincing for somebody else to think it's the messages are coming from them, from their jewelry, than from me, because that's the way humans think." And it has stuck with me. That has stuck with me for a really, really long time, because I see this as well when I watch people do channeling. If I was just to give you a message, right? If I just said to you, "I have this download and I have this message," and I just gave it to you, or "I have this information and I gave it to you," or "I have this prediction or a different way to live," or something like that, some kind of message. If I just gave it to you from me, I would maybe get 100 people watch the video, or, they skip past it. But if I sat there and closed my eyes and held my hands in a position somehow, and I said, "I am channeling this message from a being from another planet," or I'm channeling from Jesus, or I'm channeling from some kind of religious being or a saint, or if I said this message is coming from, and then I shut my eyes and gave you exactly the same message as I was going to give you just from me, I would have 500,000 views and heaps more followers, because for some reason the brain thinks, because it's not coming from me and it's coming from an outside influence, it must be real. But when it's just coming from me, it probably isn't real. So how do you know that a lot of people that are channeling are not just giving you what's coming from their own higher self, but they are using an outside influence? It's the same reason why people pray to an outside influence and don't pray within. It's got to be something outside of themselves that's more convincing. If I closed my eyes and said, "I'm getting messages from a horse or from the bird that's sitting on my balcony," if I'm getting messages from an animal, it must be more authentic, because it's coming from something outside of myself. So it's more believable. I can see it by the people that follow people that think that the messages are coming from an outside source. Years ago, one of my kids had a party here, and there was teenagers everywhere. The house was full of teenagers. Now, not sort of like late teenagers, 18, 19, sort of that. And if I said to them, "I'm a psychic and I can just read you," that would have scared them, right? And that would have put them off. So one of them came up to me and said, "What do I do? Do you do some kind of psychic stuff or something?" your son was saying. And I said, "I can read palms." I just thought, if I just put it out there, something different. So the next minute, their palms up. "Oh, tell me about my life. Tell me about my life." I'm not reading their palm. I'm reading their future through a natural intuition that I have. But because they thought I was reading their palm, it was more believable. So I did that, and the next minute, there's another palm coming in, and there's another palm coming in, and they all wanted to know. There was 20 or more that just wanted to know, and they had their palm in front of me. And a couple of years later, one of them came back to me and said, "Everything that you said that was in my palm, it came true. That happened. I did it. You were seeing these white mounds of stuff, and I ended up working in a sand mine thing where there was white mounds everywhere." And But you see, if I had have just said, I could just see that without looking at their palm, that's frightening to a lot of people. They don't want, I don't know if it's, they don't want another person to be able to see into them too deeply. If they know that you can just read without using any kind of tool, is that scary to a lot of people? That's why a lot of people use tarot cards, because then someone's thinking the tarot card gave the message, not the reader. So you see, because it might be scary to know that the reader actually knows this stuff. Or if a person doesn't have any kind of intuition ability themselves, is it scary to think that other people do? But yeah, you don't need the tools. A lot of the people that use the tools don't need the tools. The tools are there as is convince the person that's getting the information that it must be real because it's coming from an outside source.